Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. I'm back! Welcome to the Monday edition of Bye Bye, a weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream Crafting the Deep, which I build right in prayer for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you're playing characters Gottwald, Mock, Sabra, or Twirl, this stream is not meant for you to be full of spoilers, but for the rest of you, I am back, and welcome. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20 for streaming. I use OBS Studio. I have not thought about D&D since whenever the hell I did this last. I guess it would have been... Fuck, yeah, because I wasn't here all last week, so it would have been Friday the 4th was the last time I did a D&D thing. So it's been a hot minute. I don't usually take that much time off. I'm a little rusty. Hopefully it's all good and we can figure this out together. Unfortunately, we're still in the middle of this giant battle, which has lasted over 2 sessions now, and I expect will probably last another full session. The party is really running out of resources and options, but we also haven't been a full strength party yet in a hot second, right? We had Mac was out, Raymond was out last week, and I think Chris, so Gottwald was out the week before, so they haven't, they've been a reduced party, which has actually created an interesting balance because they're over leveled for the content currently, and I haven't really made much adjustments from there. I mean, other than the fact that I had to completely change this map around, I guess, but I've tried to just kind of put a bunch of minion type people in there. But then, especially at last session, we started introducing more of the boss type level content, which was the Merid, who is kind of an unwitting participant, is being forced to attack them, which I actually immediately liked that Chris especially picked up on the fact, like, oh, okay, this guy's forced to attack us, but we shouldn't actually attack him. I don't know how well they'll be able to just sit there and let this guy, like, shoot him with his magical water hose this whole time, but so far they're going with that. And then Scummer, who has appeared on the second level, shooting just flares and firebolts down at everybody, is another issue. And then, of course, I am actually running Sea King Tentrix with the Call Lightning spell, and I'm not even doing it as a layer action. I'm just doing it whenever it's actually Tentrix's turn. So I haven't even introduced an actual layer action yet. And I don't know, I guess I should, but there's just a lot going on in this fight. I didn't expect to have to run the entire fight run the entire dungeon as a single fight, and that is creating a lot of overhead for me to handle. So the less I have to take care of and try to juggle, probably the better in that case. But we will have Max return, which we need to talk about because I want to try to incorporate that in some way because he's actually in a higher position to engage possibly the final boss pretty quickly. And then do we need to spill out any of the other rooms while we're in the middle of this fight? Because how weird is it if the party defeats Tentrix? Do we need to explore the rest of this dungeon? Like, pacing wise, it just feels weird if we've defeated the boss, the surviving pirates have fled, and then there's going to be some random people who are still like hanging out in their rooms for some reason. I mean, I feel that's what a video game would do, maybe, or a video game would create like a story cutscene where it's like, now that you've taken out Tentrix, we move on to the next thing, basically. So I'm still trying to figure out the main 2 rooms that are kind of legit rooms where I had stuff set up was this first floor, which was the workshop that had the bolter and the gnomish swashbuckler named Powder, and that's all in the Call from the Deep book. I don't know, it was cool enemies that Tentrix would probably prefer to have in this fight if he could, but she's maybe not particularly loyal to him. She's more into just making stuff. But it's very possible, and more than likely, the party's just going to start missing all this stuff because they feel like they need to just go take out Tentrix right now because they're in the middle of this big fight. I guess what could also change the dynamic is, the hit points of the party and how, if they're taking some serious damage, do they ever start backing off? Twirl is at 17 out of 82 hit points currently. He does have mirror image up, and he still has his Bigby's hand up, but also still separated from the party and kind of surrounded by enemies. A bunch of people on the second floor that he doesn't know about. The fact that I could probably disengage with them. I've been having them up here and just attacking down, whereas I should be taking them and actually adding them to Toril and maybe even try to overwhelm him, because the party really got over their heads here. Gottwald's still fine. He's actually just marching up the middle, taking pot shots from various people. He's at 50 out of 100 hit points. I don't remember if he still has Second Wind or any of his stuff left. He does have Second Wind, according to this. He does not have Action Surge, however. According to this, he also still has all his runes available. That seems crazy. I feel like he would have activated them by now, but I don't know how much he's keeping track of all that here. All the hit dies, too, because this isn't short rested. And then Savra's also in really bad shape. She is basically out of spell slots, and unfortunately, she got left behind by the rest of the team. She got shoved backwards by the Merid, and is now having to deal with some reinforcements that have come around. So she's got a couple enemies by her, and she's at 18 out of 65 hit points. She does not have Mirror Image, and I believe she's probably running out of shield spells. So party may have to kind of adjust their tactics here if they don't want to get fellow party members killed. Looking at Savra's spell slots. Yeah, out of all of her spell slots, which is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 total spell slots, she has one remaining, which is one third-level spell slot. Now, granted, that one third-level spell slot could do some work, but yeah, she is in dire straits right now because of all these giant-ass fights that have basically required her to burn a lot of her spells, getting rid of all the AoEs and stuff. Hey, Sylvan, the Watson family vacation was very, very fun. I talked to it with patrons during the update today, but it was a blast. We ended up going to Hot Springs in Arkansas, which was a fun little vacation destination. Home of the oldest and smallest national park, which we enjoyed, and they have a whole little historic district, and just some cool. We got to do like quartz crystal mining at a actual quarry, and they've got a big, gorgeous lake out there. Just really nice kind of vacation-y getaway place that's not too far from us. So pretty fun for a week, shortened week vacation. We really crammed a lot into the few days that we had, though, and everybody was so exhausted this last weekend. Like, me and my wife basically just took turns taking naps on Saturday, and then my poor oldest actually literally got sick. She had to stay home from school today. Because of just, I think, sheer exhaustion. Like, we fucking ran those kids ragged just because of the amount of stuff we had planned back-to-back activities, and it's not usually what my family does. So it was one of those vacations, very fun, but also very tiring, and we were very glad that we came back basically Friday afternoon and then had a weekend to recover from it, I guess, and reduce our levels of exhaustion. You might want to get ready for enemies taking a fallen PC to Tentrix. They give you a chance to have all the pirates regroup there, for sure. Yeah, I thought about, in the other room is the prisoner of Tentrix possibly calling out for Wolfgar, which is the other Kraken priest who's the jailer, I guess. Bringing out Sambalay with a classic, like, ally knife to the throat kind of a thing. Be like, hey, you need to stand down or we'll fucking kill him. Which is an interesting dynamic with parties who do not like to surrender, basically. So I could pull that one out as well. And Wolfgar would be loyal to Tentrix and is in earshot and clearly knows that there's bad things going on. So I would definitely pull that one out. But yeah, and I mentioned the fact this is an area where technically you can get TPK'd, but they're not in the middle of like a zombie infested cave, for example. These are pirates who could very much keep everybody alive, and maybe Tentrix has other plans, wants to make an example of them, throw them all in jail real quick. Like, I'm totally okay with having the party actually lose here. I don't think the party's okay with that, obviously. That's never really been an option for my parties, but I'm not planning on necessarily pulling my punches here. Like, they are the ones that really got this fight started. It was my plan to kind of hang back and treat it like a social heist dungeon, but instead they ended up kind of aggroing everything. And so everything will respond accordingly. So I'm not really pulling any of my punches. The only thing I did really pull was to be more realistic about how many enemies were actually coming at the party and when. So that only just in the last session, like I mentioned, they start having to deal with the actual mini bosses that are a lot stronger, not just these minions who occasionally get their hits in, but mainly just go down and get killed. It almost feels very Diablo-ish with our player characters being able to take on like just waves and waves of bad guys. And but that's just how the balance works, I think, right now. So I don't necessarily feel bad about doing that. I'm definitely getting my hits in, and like I said, they're getting so low on resources that by the time they actually go to face Tentrix, it's gonna be pretty nasty. Although technically they are facing Tentrix right now, right? Like he's using basically Call Lightning on all of his turns. By the way, I've been calling for perception checks because of the homunculus is the one who's actually triangulating the Call Lightning, without Tentrix being able to necessarily see that. So every time the Call Lightning happens, whoever's getting zapped by it can make that perception check. I forgot what I was looking for a check. It was probably just a 15. I mean, hell, stealth wise, the homunculus only has a +2, but if we give it a DC 15 to try to find it, I may be lowering that DC. Then somebody can maybe look and see that this is the creature who's always nearby, like staring at the place where the lightning zaps, and maybe they'll start figuring that out. And then by taking out the homunculus, that actually stops Tentrix from being able to aim the Call Lightning wherever he wants, and instead has to actually be able to see somebody as per that rule, I believe. Whoops, I need to click on that. Tentrix is not a lingering injury. So we need to talk about Mac's return, because that is something that's going to happen right now. This was an interesting case where we've had to do some creative like explainings about why a player character hasn't been around, because this is kind of the first, I think it's the first campaign where we've done it that way, where I really put my foot down and be like, hey, if a character's not here, then if a player's not here, then their character's not here. Most of the time that's fine, and ends up being a funny, like, oh, the character's in the bathroom or something. But now we've had to do some kind of mental gymnastics to try to figure out, okay, well, why did this person disappear at this moment, and then how do they come into this? And this, especially, unfortunately, we had two players who were not involved this fight at various scenarios, and I've had to kind of include them and rope them in some other ways. So I mentioned the fact that Mac, when we left off, had scaled up he was still, by the way, trying to be disguised and subterfuge, but and be able to attack people, in which I'm kind of allowing him for a little bit, but that's probably gonna be worn off by now because people have been seeing him up there fighting. In fact, I'm gonna take that off his thing. But he climbed up, or maybe they saw him like climbing, up a 3rd-story building, as a Storm Maiden, and then plopped down and fought the Marinoloth. I kind of just hand waved it away. They're like, okay, well, he's doing that the whole time. I actually don't know. I mean, I'm sure Mac will be able to kill this thing pretty quick. It's only an AC of 13. It has the ability to just teleport away, though, as a bonus action up to 60 feet away. It also has the ability to target somebody and frighten them, which would stop them from being able to approach. However, none of that helps the Marinoloth actually do damage. So I was going to hand wave it away, where, of course, Mac does kill this thing. But maybe, and the players have no idea what this is, and I'm going to kind of keep it a mystery. So maybe it was like teleporting them around, the area, and so Mac was kind of not able to help because he was getting switched around to a bunch of spots. And maybe he's been taking some hits from other pirates as well. So when he comes out of it, he's, got several other like bodies around him that have helped. That might actually be a better idea. So we can grab maybe some of the guys that are over here. That way he feels good about killing like several people. I guess that's what you want. Grab one of you guys. And then we'll just put red X's over them all. So you took them all down. But then maybe I'm going to say, hey, you need to like take 10 damage or something. If I can get away with that, which I think I can, I'd be like, here, you took out a bunch of people. We kind of montaged you having a fight scene. It doesn't say in the book if killing the Marinoloth actually does anything to the lair, because he protects the lair and drives it, or commandeers it, whatever. But it doesn't mention the fact that if there's some kind of effect if the Marinoloth actually goes down. So yeah, I didn't necessarily have any plans for that. And normally I may have an idea for it, but there's just so much shit going on. Like, I probably don't want to introduce some other thing, like the whole layer starts like slowly falling apart or something. Like, it wasn't that he was like a load-bearing creature, I don't think. That would be really risky, but he kind of protected it with his abilities. But his death doesn't necessarily mean like the destruction of the thing, so I think we can just nuke him. However, that does put Mac in a very interesting position. I hate that he's on the 3rd floor because I have to use this map that I would normally have to use at all. He would still be able to look down and see the Merit, or actually the Merit's probably even with him because the Merit was 30 feet in the air. So the Merit's up in the air shooting down at Gottwald and kind of apologizing for it and getting chummy with him. There's nobody left on the 3rd floor. There are a bunch of people left on the 2nd balcony, which Mac would be able to see. But I can't put their tokens on here because they're technically underneath this area. And he would, more importantly, be able to see Tentrix from up here, and along with a couple of the minions who were on that northeastern boat. And obviously, I think if Max sees Tentrix, that's probably who he's going to go after and start shooting. So that suddenly makes things a little interesting from there. If he ever jumps down or gets down to this level, then we'll actually use this level of the map, which has the doorway into his lair. And I figure with there being combat going on, Tentrix would probably keep a couple of pirates near him, but they wouldn't be faced out. They'd be more like facing in. And all these, I need to roll initiative actually for all these pirates because I don't think I did. They would be taking pot shots at Mac, who is visible up here. And then if Mac starts shooting at Tentrix, Tentrix would probably command Scummer to come outside, which would put him out here, and then he can shoot at Mac from down below. So that's I'm trying to work through all the tactics basically because I'm prepared for. I try to be prepared for as much as I can, but I would assume if Mac can see Tentrix, that's who he's going to go after. Ooh, casting Fear on Mac would be really good too. That would get him away. It's like a 30. Is that 30 foot? The slot can do that. 30-foot radius. Cone, wisdom save. They drop their shit and run. That's really powerful. Yeah, that could be really effective. I don't think there's another way to get, unfortunately, max height advantage that he got, which is smart as a ranger. It's very painful for me. 30 feet does not have any other way of moving. Or Scummer could just run up the stairs, I guess, and then get even with him, because these are the stairs going up. Twirl, by the way, is only right here at the stairs going down. So he's pretty close as well. But Mac is the bigger threat at the moment. Well, I say that. Twirl still got Big B's hand up. Big B's hand is really nasty, and Twirl, at this point, it's going to be easier to try to knock Twirl unconscious than to try to break his damn concentration. Thank you, Lumpy. I appreciate you. Try to prepare. There is a trap where you can definitely over prepare and then you miss the forest for the trees, kind of a thing. You don't see a detail, and then when they finally do the thing, you're like, oh no, I've prepared too much on this thing, and I'm not prepared at all for this. And it happens, and I worry about it whenever the party's in one area for too long, for sure. Which this is getting close to one of those situations, but there's just so many other factors involved. Trying to figure that out. So Tentrix, like I said, he's got Call Lightning, is concentrating on it right now as well, so they could always just shoot him to break his concentration. I haven't even used his legendary actions, which he does have the Thunder Step, which is fantastic. That's a really good ability, actually. Counter spell. The party doesn't have that many spells right now. At will command could just do a single I may need to introduce his legendary actions, actually. If they're going to start actually engaging with Tentrix physically, then I may have to introduce that, because that's what's going to make him a lot stronger. Mainly because I can use, if I can cast a spell on a legendary action, I can just use that command. I don't feel like that's his whole turn. I think command's a great spell, but having your boss cast a first level spell for his whole turn is not so much. You can do his Thunderbolt at range 60. What kind of range are we looking at from Mac? Mac was like, what, up here? That's 70 feet, so Tentrix could easily move up and use that Thunderbolt attack. That's good to know. Which does an average of 22 damage. And knocks prone. Actually, that'd be bad if it knocked him prone. Then it'd be disadvantage on range attacks. Oh no. Voice the Kraken is only useful if he sees people approaching. Because Matt can still attack him and not and be I guess he'd have disadvantage. But I didn't have to approach. Black Tentacles, Hungers of Hadar, Phantasmal Killer would be a good single target spell. These are all things where if he loses concentration on Call Lightning, he's only got that one once per day. I think he can cast the other ones. I would assume they're also once per day. Arms of Hadar if they get close. He has just the straight up shield spell and Armor of Agathis. Although I guess does anybody ever cheat, by the way, with their bosses, where they automatically have them prepare, have all of their like defensive spells prepared? Because the shitty thing about casting defensive spells is it takes an action for a lot of them, like a mirror image or something. You're like, oh, I don't want to spend my boss's turn casting this defensive spell, even though it's gonna be really good for him long term. It sucks to use an action to do that versus just having him come out on the battlefield and it's like, oh yeah, of course he's already got mage armor and armor of Agathis and mirror image and all these other shits like stacked on top of him or something. It doesn't happen often where I have a spellcasting boss with those kind of defensive spells, but I could at least throw armor of Agathis. It's not really gonna matter. Five temporary hit points is not gonna make any kind of difference because it doesn't look like it can actually scale like a warlock does. But shield as a reaction is very nice to have. +5 bonus to AC. He's got a 15 armor class, so that could matter, although the party is fond of just rolling above a 20 every time in their attacks. James, I cheat hardcore with my bosses. Yeah, dude. I mean, what does that say about the balance level, though? You kind of have to do that in order to, I don't know, I mean, make it appropriate, I think. I think it's disappointing to both party and DM if the boss comes out and it's very underwhelming, right? Like, I think you don't want to get your ass kicked by a boss. That feels bad. And you don't want a boss to use cheesy stuff like, oh, he's healing up like all of his health every round or something. But you don't want to come out there and just absolutely dominate. I mean, sometimes that can feel good, I guess, but and maybe against like a mini boss, but against an actual like named boss we've been after for some time, you need to fucking earn that shit. Hopefully we've got enough here. Damage resistance from non-magical and cold. Mainly just because the party is just out of all of their things. I honestly think well, Mac is still very much a huge source of DPS, and he's doing just fine. I forgot what his hit points are at, but he wasn't in the whole last fight, so he's fresher than most. He's at 63 out of 90 hit points, and we know he can do 20 or 30 damage around at 120 range or something. So absolutely devastating, and his position right now makes him really hard for me to get to because he's on that third floor, and even if Tentrix like yells and tells people to get up there, it's gonna take them a while before they can try to approach him. What he could do is use the, I don't know if he can command the Merid actually. Can he command the Merid like Scummer, or does he just, when he summoned the Merid, maybe he just said, defeat these intruders or something? Because that would be actually pretty fun if that's a classic genie thing, right? Where you have to like be very specific about your commands and the interpretation of those commands. So if he basically said like destroy these intruders, then it's up to the Merid to determine like, okay, well, I can kind of attack who I want to attack, and Gottwald even, I thought, did a pretty good job of saying, hey, we'll help you, but keep firing on me and not my friends. Then I think that would kind of take care of the Merid. So maybe that kind of helps the party and works against Tentrix. Whereas Scummer, he would definitely have Scummer come out and try to attack Mac if Mac ends up being the biggest threat. Toril is kind of the biggest X factor here because Toril is very low on health, but still has that Bigby's hand up, which is capable of doing a lot of things. Obviously, action economy has actually hurt the party here because I've had a lot more turns than the party does. But Toril having that extra Bigby's hand up like this entire fight has been pretty damn dynamite. And he's got that super concentration I can't ever get rid of. I got this less like an hour, no reason he shouldn't. Yeah. But I mean, it's 5 temporary hit points. It's not going to make any difference. And it's cool that it like explodes with like some cold damage, but I think it's only in melee. If the boss knows the party's coming, what's the time they will, then it's not cheating. Yeah, I mean, in this case, he literally had plenty of time to be able to prep any of his things. He summoned the Merit, he did all that shit. Cast Call Lightning from a distance, that's his best thing to do. And obviously, if once Max starts shooting him, he can use the homunculus to target with Call Lightning, and then he can just duck inside his thing. So as soon as Max actually starts targeting him, he will retreat back into his quarters and then yell. I guess he'll retreat. I don't know. How brazen is he? It does mention in the book that he's a true believer, and he's a Kraken priest. He's Slarkrathel, and he believes if he dies, he'll just be like resurrected by the Kraken or something. Which I don't know if that's part of the tenets of being a Kraken priest. So maybe it's kind of lame to have him retreat, even though it's tactically the smart thing to do. But is it thematically the right thing to do? The evil pirate guy would retreat back to his quarters behind his men, or would he try to press the attack and stuff? I mean, shield might help him. He could use shield every round for 3 rounds, as long as I remember not to use reaction or anything else, because it would last the whole, his whole turn, and that gives him an effective AC of 20, which is pretty good for a boss. I do think I need to start giving him legendary actions starting this round. Maybe starting next round. Maybe we'll go into it 1 round now that Mac's back. Delete Bernaloth off of here. Which I kept him in initiative order. We skipped it the whole time, but I kept him there. And then once Mac reacts to the situation and Tentrix and stuff, then maybe next round we can add some legendary actions, which will probably just be Tentrix either teleporting somewhere exciting, which I don't know. He could. The space where he leaves, space you can see within 30 feet immediately after it disappears. Under boom sounds, each creature within 10 feet of space he left. Okay, so it's like an escape tool, and it's only within 30 feet. I don't see Mac running up there when he could just shoot him from his position. But yeah, Tentrix can easily break line of sight, so that would kind of fuck him up. So we'll roll initiative for all the guys up here. I think otherwise we've got enough initiatives going. Oh, and then I do have the Colossal Octopus thing I haven't introduced yet. Fuck, do I want to do that? Or Tentrix's like ultimate move. Maybe it's after he starts taking some serious damage and he like really invokes like Slarkrathel's power or something. And he can summon that Colossal Octopus. Because I do think that's such a cool thing to do. It's such a neat token and a cool stat. I mean, it's just Giant Octopus, but Giant Octopus, come on. That's like a classic fantasy nautical thing, right? Makes 4 tentacle attacks, that's like a fucking roper. Or I can use Tentacle Slam, which it slams each creature grappled by it into each other or a solid object, forcing them to make strength saves, taking 20 bludgeoning damage and stunned until the end of the octopus next turn. That's so fucking terrible. Man. The party is not designed to win this fight with as low as they are right now on all their resources, but I mean, that's too fucking bad for them, I guess. That's the sympathy I have. That one is the only one that might feel like bullshit, because like the rest of the things have all been like the dungeon being aggroed and activated and them having to deal with all the enemies, whereas this is just me pulling out some DM magic. I mean, like, oh yeah, he's summoning kind of a mini avatar of Slarkrathel or maybe just summoning for 8 or something, but once he gets down maybe to half health or maybe a little bit higher than that, I've got him on 150 hit points right now, but the same with Scummer. So maybe if he gets to where he's taking some damage and he crosses that like 100 hit point threshold and he's bloodied, I guess he technically wouldn't be bloody until 75, then he can summon that Colossal Octopus. And maybe if they just stick to defeating Tentrix, then the octopus will go down as well. Maybe the whole layer goes down. I don't know if we can make that happen. Then that takes care of the whole like, oh, we get to explore the rest of the dungeon kind of thing. And maybe the Merid can save them all once they get that conch shell. I still haven't figured quite that whole thing out. And it may depend on what the player's attitude are. I was thinking I was going to have to bargain with the party to convince them, to basically get a quest. Be like, hey, if you help me, or it's basically like, they want to gain control of the Merid conch. And then when they summon the Merid, then he would give them the quest of, if I can give you an upgrade to your ship, but we gotta help find that ship first, and we have to go through the motion of going to the elemental plane of water and all that. Instead, things are going down a little bit of a different route where the party's already quickly on board with the Merid, and they seem like they already want to help him. So I'm like, okay, well, do I want to just skip that whole thing? And maybe the Merid can just say, well, I have the power to transport you all where you need to go. Like, your ship is really damaged. You're at the ass end of the Sword Coast down here, and where you need to go is North Coast. Which, by the way, I've been trying to figure out where in the fucking book it says, and I have not been able to find it, how they actually learn about the next area. And I don't know where that information is. It just says, by the time the characters have raided the floating layer of Sea King Tentrix and dealt with the pirates, they've learned that Tentrix works for the Kraken Slarkarthel, Tentrix comes from Purple Rocks, and Tentrix is responsible for creating the Black Armada and attacking the Sword Coast. They already know the third one, obviously. And they're pretty sure they know the first one. They don't know the second one, which is the important information. Basically, where the Kraken and the Kraken Society is located, which is Purple Rocks. I've tried looking through that whole Tentrix's floating layer area and have not found that information out. So it's either going to be in Tentrix's quarters, the equivalent of like a journal or something. I'll try to come up with something thematic like that. It does mention there's like a whalebone idol of Slarkarthel that deals damage if you even try to touch it, like psychic damage. So maybe they can get like nightmare visions of that, and then even by like getting near it, and then that tells them the location, but maybe it also does psychic damage. That would probably be the most thematic way to do it. Or if they think about it, they can try to keep Tentrix alive, and then I can do the classic thing where they're, intimidating a enemy and trying to get information. Tentrix can maybe try to give the information, but then it does say that as a Kraken priest, Slarkarthel can just kill them, like doing an insane amount of psychic damage. But maybe I can also trigger that same cutscene where, like, during the scene where Slarkarthel, which it's all the times I say Slarkarthel, by the way, I'm referring to the Elder Brain, which is possessing Slarkarthel, essentially. And for whatever reason, when he kills Tentrix, coup de grace him with the psychic damage, maybe because Tentrix is such a higher up, and they're close by, they get like a psychic feedback that shows them like where that attack came from, and they follow it all the way. I'm picturing some kind of like first person camera view, like soaring over the over the ocean and the Sea of Swords, all the way to the north end, and then where it kind of rests on this nice top down like opening credits like when a Game of Thrones style of the island of Purple Rock. So that's probably how they're going to get the information. I don't know. What's the last thing that says their main quest? Like, do they even know? I may need to give them more information about the main quest, which is Call from the Deep, which I haven't updated since session 22. Bad, Eric, bad. Yeah, everything is just led to Tentrix right now. But they do know that there's Mind Flayer shenanigans going on. And then session 18, which was a while ago, they learned crash landing of a group of Illithid are able to descend into the ocean and infect the ancient Kraken Slarkarthel himself, gaining vast amounts of power and prestige. The Illithid must be destroyed and the Kraken cleansed in order to stop this threat. But first you must locate their lair. Okay. So I did give them all the information. Even I forgot, which means my players definitely forgot that this scene happened. Okay. That was session 18, which is, I believe, when they rescued the aboleth and they learned all that. So I'll need to. That'd be a funny moment where it's like previously on, and I like specifically remind them of that scene where it's like, hey, remember what the main quest? Like, yes, defeating Tentrix is very important, but the main quest is finding this group of Illithid in the ocean and somehow freeing the Kraken from their clutches. But first, yeah, Xixaro suggests first tracking down Sea King Tentrix. So Tentrix would know. Via that kind of psychic cutscene I mentioned, either from the, if it can't happen when he dies or he's like in the process of dying, then it'll happen with the Slarkarthel like idol that they find on the desk. And then I can trigger some kind of psychic vision where they see that it comes from Purple Rocks. And then they would know exactly where that is. Oh, excuse me. And I'm planning on getting them there via the Merid, who can either give them a powerful airship if we want to go on that little bit of a side quest jaunt, or if this ends up just taking, especially if we don't wrap this up by Friday, which we might not because we're coming back and it's still a big fight. I may think about just skipping that whole sequence with the Merid, the whole elemental plane of water thing, and just having the Merid like and especially with the way it's going right now with the Merid, where they're like already on board, like, oh yeah, we'll free you, no problem. The Merid be like, okay, well, as a reward for freeing you, let me just teleport you where you need to go, which is the Purple Rocks Island. That way we skip all encounters, we skip just everything we need to do, and just immediately appear in the next area and go from there. That would be the easiest thing to do and the quickest. Otherwise, the reward is that, like, well, I have this super powered, it's not really an airship in the book, but I'm probably gonna make it an airship because I don't know, like super fast, sexy ship. But the I like the quest, but it does feel like it's, I don't know, I'm kind of talking myself out of it, I think. Where you go to the elemental plane of water, like I've got this ship, but I don't know where it is. And then you have to go to the elemental plane of water in this bar, talk to a bunch of people, and then you figure out where it is, which is back on the material plane, and then you go there and it's on an island, and then you fight a bunch of dudes, and then you get it back. I would replace the dudes with some kind of monster thing, probably. But we could also hopefully wrap all that up in like a single session. Because you could, I would really try to downplay having a fight, and just have it be a big social scene with the bar in the elemental plane of water, which also feels kind of like a waste for that whole setting, but also a good opportunity to just blip in there really briefly. And then have some kind of cool monster fight, which we mentioned, like the zombie dragon turtle, for example. It could be interesting if we work that out somehow. I don't know where it's supposed to be on, like this. Let's see where. Let's look that one up again. Chapter 2. Baldur's. Which one was the conch? Wolfgar. No, it's not that one. It's Waterdeep then. There it is. Purse. Talked to a bunch of people, including Yugoloth. Character remember the whale bones. Islands west of Waterdeep, whose shores are scattered with their namesake. Teleports the characters, the whale bones, spending a day searching the characters, find the ship, the flying squid. Ship has been breached by a gang of 8 berserkers. Is there anything else about whale bones? Dozens of small islands known as the whale bones. Let's go to the island beaches, stealing bones from the islands. That'd be a really tough battle map to figure out. Small islands with a zombie dragon turtle roaming around. Sample character. The sample encounter is going to do a storm giants with a rock. Can accompany the friendly storm giants to purple rocks. Oh, that's convenient. Hmm. There's been a message in a bottle yet this campaign. There has not been. That's a great opportunity for a side quest, but we're really not doing side quests anymore, I think, from here. Just pure main quest stuff. Which is Purple Rocks. I don't think this entry is actually really anything there. Yeah, it's Utherall is, I think, the first town they get to. It's supposed to be very like Lovecraftian and very horror themed, and in fact, there's even a chance for characters to make like sanity checks and for like creepy things happening. Yeah, content warning, unfathomable horror. They're like sacrificing children and throwing them into the ocean, like kind of some messed up stuff. Um, it feels very, I don't know. Feels weird to suddenly like introduce that in a campaign that hasn't been very horror themed up till now. At least mechanically, to do the whole like sanity check stuff. I think you can definitely do like a more horror section, which is what this is. It's also a bit more social. It's actually gonna be a tricky area to run. There's no maps involved in this whatsoever. You're supposed to find, yeah, the lair of Slarkarthel, which is a scar, all the like ruins of the Sea Elf Kingdom or something. But like the whole town's in on, they're all Kraken Society. Like it's a Kraken Society like main place. But not everybody in the, even though they all worship Slarkarthel, uh, not everybody is aware of the fact that Slarkarthel has been taken over by an Elder Brain and been co-opted by these newcomers, which are the Mind Flayers. This could be a tricky one to run. I'll have to read through this and refamiliarize myself and how much I want to do this versus skipping them. I mean, it's definitely worth having at least a session that's just pure like social and exploration based rather than a fight. But the problem is you're also surrounded by potential villains, and a fight could erupt anywhere. And I'm running virtual tabletops that could involve or that need to have like tokens and maps. So that's the part I'm like kind of nervous about having prepared. I think Trisk, is that just the other village? Okay, so Utherall is technically welcome to outsiders. It's like their public facing village, and then Trisk is the non-public facing kind of inner circle village. And that's where there is a temple. And yeah, Deep Lord Ingramar, yeah, is the one with the Staff of the Magi, which I've been teasing forever for Savra. Whenever they met that one undead wizard in a very early mission in the Wreck of the Golden Crown underwater shipwreck dungeon. I mentioned the fact that his legendary staff was stolen. Staff the Magi, so they'll be able to definitely get that. So that'll be wanting to fight there. 5 Kraken Priests. Or if Deep Lord Ingramar is a different stat block. I'd say he definitely does. What stat block is this? Jesus. This is just a Warlock. Huh. He's got 5th level spell slots. A bunch of them. Yeah, it's like a custom built Warlock. A whole bunch of spells. And the Staff of the Magi, which also has a bunch of spells involved. Okay. Fascinating. King Gaze, is that where you can summon bad things? Oh, that's just creating a teleporter. I think Planar Binding was what I was thinking of. I mean, come on, he's summoning like Chules or something. Oh, there we go. The elders can cast the following spells from the Warlock spell list and must share the spell slots among themselves. That's a neat idea. It's kind of a hag coven thing. Can all share spells to cast some more powerful spells. So all of that series gets them to the ruins. The Northern Sheriff Trisk is a tower of the Elders community with Slarkrethel. In the catacombs beneath the tower is a tunnel which leads directly to Escarl. Which there are basic bare bones maps for this, and other folks have made some good maps because it is a giant mega dungeon. Including, I believe, a showdown with a Kraken. Quite possibly. Although I think the goal is just to separate them. Yeah, this is a giant ass dungeon. This is crazy. It's like 80 rooms or something. Can't even see the whole thing, I know, because my overlay is blocking it, but it is an enormous underwater mega dungeon. Which, I like my giant dungeons. Actually, I think only parts of it is underwater, too. I think other parts of it are above water. I know, I'm kind of in the mindset now that we need to just be clipping along. Like, we've been spending a lot of time doing the whole pirate lore thing, and now the layer is taking a long time. Like, every single sequence seems to take a little bit longer than what I anticipated, session-wise. Maybe we're just doing shorter sessions these days, I guess. So I don't know if I want to do the whole elemental plane of water thing. Yes, it could be a good palate cleanser, but when they go to Purple Rocks and the first town of Utheral, that should also not necessarily be a bunch of fights, even though they are going to be around potential enemies. That should be more exploration based, hopefully, and them just trying to like gather information and talk to people. But I may need to have a few events and altercations set up because I probably want to fight at some point. Always needing to fight this damn party with the itchy trigger fingers. And I haven't even looked at Escarl very closely yet since I first read the adventure, because we're still pretty far away from that. I should put another one of the Mind Flayer leaders up in the town if they're not already there. Just because that kind of adds to my theory of pulling them off and using them in different places. We finally dealt with one in the styes. We dealt with one, or we introduced one early, but I had to leave with them because there was no way that was going to have the party face a Mind Flayer at whatever level they were at the time, like 4th level or something. Maybe 5th level. So I had that Mind Flayer disappear. So that one could appear maybe towards the end, but then we should include another one who's actually just up on the surface, probably in Trisk. And maybe even like hiding themselves. I don't know how it's supposed to kind of be a secret a little bit that the place is taken over. Yeah, because like Sea Spawn, Deep Scions, that stuff's all fine, but like the actual Mind Flayers coming in and taking over, that would not be seen as cool by the Kraken cultists. Like, who the fuck are these guys? Try to read through and see if it says the Mind Flayer. Okay, there's a Mind Flayer in Vilkstead Castle. Does it mention that? It's just a Mind Flayer. A figure cloaked in a head-to-toe black veil. A Mind Flayer created by Ceramorphosis watches over the process. Yeah, that should be one of the named generals that's there. And yeah, I like the head-to-toe black veil, like completely covered. So it's a big, like, kind of secret that the Mind Flayers are actually have taken over this cult, which, you know, perfectly dastardly plan. Like, instead of creating your own bad guy cult, basically just co-opt one that's already there, which is already kind of basically is an evil cult, and just take over the powerful leader, and then boom, you've already got your bad guy faction. If only were so easy to take over a Kraken. Yeah, Intellect Devour could be pretty fun. Fun excuse. Go with the even more horror stuff. Like Mind Flayer's really been slowly taking over the Kraken Society in general. That'd be actually a good idea for a fun encounter too. If maybe a bunch of people like attack, and then maybe the party fights back against the people, but if when they kill them, like the intellect devourers like crawl out. That's very horror and uh, highly thematic and appropriate here for sure. I think one of them is supposed to be, yeah, Sea King Frannis. Devout worship of Slarkarthel, but recent events have broken his faith. What's this, anything else? Oh yeah, flees his castle in desperation. Leave them to leave the islands and take them with them, claiming they are strange beings in the castle. Sarkathel is dead and his court is turned against him. Tells the characters much of the following information. Sarkathel has been killed by alien forces. Kraken layers north of Trisk in the underwater ruins of the city of Askarl. The creatures that killed Sarkathel transform Francis' brother into one of their kind, a loathsome tentacle-faced monster. And they have to fight Berserkers, Deep Scions, and the Mind Flayer from Vilkstead Castle. That's a good event. Deep Scions transform, they attack. That's all good shit. I like that. I like it a lot, which means I'll probably never be able to pull it off because the party will... Who's going to rest calmly in the middle of a bad guy place anyway? They're going to be investigating. A no-brainer. Slow collapse. Well done, Zolvin. Well done. I do like the pacing, though, of arriving to a public but creepy village where it gets more and more like dark and dire. And then they go to the other village that's actually like, you know, sealed off and like where all the head honchos are, and it's really pretty dark. And then that leads to the temple, and then the temple goes down and keeps going down to the underwater ruins, and that's where the Kraken actually layers. I like the progress of this finale. Technically, the chapter division is weird though. Chapter 4 starts with Driftwood Docks, the Ninth Isle, excuse me, and Driftwood Docks. And then the floating layer also includes Purple Rocks, all the towns in Purple Rocks, the temple, and then I guess the entrance to the dungeon. That's all chapter 4. And then chapter 5 is just the ruins of Askarl, which granted is a giant mega dungeon. Whereas I would, and it recommends after they take out Tentrix, leveling up the party, basically giving them a chance to fucking rest for a second and treating that as like the end of a big quest arc, which it is. And then moving on to the Purple Rocks area, which should be its own chapter. So I would have included that all in chapter 5, I guess. Or to split up chapter 4 again. But I'm thinking more like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, whatever. In the end of Tentrix, we'll level them up again. So they'll be level 11, I think, for that by the time they enter in this area. And I can probably keep them level 11 for all of the town stuff, the temple. And it does mention the fact you should level up before they get to or when they get to Askarl, but they're already going to be level 11 by then. So we'll try to find time where I will probably have to level up to 12 at some point near the beginning of this dungeon. Maybe during it. I don't know if we can find an opportunity to long rest somewhere, because it is, like I said, a gigantic dungeon, which I'll probably, have to stock the crap out of and fully do, and then the party will only ever see like a third of it, but that's how it goes, I guess. But that's the end of it. So we're gonna start talking about that later this week, I think, because I don't think there's not much more I can talk about with our current area here. We figured out how to get them to Purple Rocks, which is basically like a kind of a psychic cutscene, either upon Tentrix's death or on some piece of loot or something he's got. We'll get them that location of where they need to go. maybe once Tentrix goes down and the fact they took down the Myrniloth, then maybe the whole layer starts breaking apart or something just for dramatic effect. So the party doesn't have to go around exploring this thing. It just feels weird at that point. Tentrix should have some treasure on him and in his room, so they get at least something out of it. But I'm with the way this fight's going, I'm okay with skipping the whole Powder's Workshop thing. But I probably would introduce the other Kraken, Wolfgar, who's got Sambalay as a prisoner, with the scene of having him step out with Sambalay like with a knife to his throat, and just adding that extra context to the party and just seeing how they deal with that situation. But we also have to just see how the dice go with the comics. A lot of this is I don't know if the party's gonna have to just back off themselves because their party's like literally rolling death saves back there, or maybe the opposite has happened. Maybe Mac has done so much damage to Tentrix and just got a knife to his throat, and now that whole thing has changed. Like, who the fuck knows what's going to happen in that case. But in terms of the Merid and his quest line, now I'm kind of waffling on it back and forth on how much I want to use him for like this. I don't know. Now it feels weird pacing wise with that, as much long as it's taking. If I want to introduce the whole like, hey, let's hunt down my airship and we can get us there real quick, but it takes this extra kind of quest. Or versus the Merid just saying like, hey, thanks to you guys, assuming they go through with it and actually steal the Merid conch and like destroy it, which would free the Merid. Then the Merid's like, hey, thanks for doing that, and as a reward, I can just teleport you where you need to go. I notice you're still looking to get somewhere or something, and that would be the DM hinting like, hey, we just take you directly to the next fucking area, basically. And yeah, I'll let you long rest in between, or let you teleport to, an area of that area that's relatively safe, so you can still get a long rest in, because goodness knows they're going to need one. Assuming they survive this encounter, which, I'm willing to throw them all in the brig if they go down here and if they need to surrender, so that could happen as well. And then we've got the whole Purple Rock sequence, which we talked about which that's when I have to start really prepping through and making sure I've got a handle on, and also try to figure out if I want to make like specific battle map scenes for and tokens, because unfortunately none of that is supported in the book. It's just there's a lot of information there, a lot of scenes I can read through, but nothing for a VTT, so that gets it's a little trickier to run. So I'm gonna have to look at that and really see if there's some specific fight sequence that I know need to happen, and then maybe just deal with having a blank parchment map or something if we need to actually fight something too bad. Maybe there's like certain buildings or rooms where things happen. In the castle, for example, is one thing that could have a scene in there. So we'll have to figure all that out, and then once we get to the actual mega dungeon and all that area, that gets a little bit easier, because then we know we've got some maps and things set up, so we can handle it. Hopefully handle that stuff from there. That's true. Pirates do have maps and logs, but I like the. I feel like Slarkarthel probably communicates very creepily and psychically to the Kraken priests. And in fact, maybe he like has to hold the idol or something, and then his communication comes in. Versus, I mean, yeah, he'll have like charting logs and things, but I don't know, what do you like circle like purple rocks or something? Maybe if that would be probably the video game way to do it. Hopefully, we can pull off some kind of psychic scene, though. I think that'd be the most appropriate way to enlighten the party on where they need to go. So that's really the only one information they need from here. Obviously, they need to take down Tentrix because he's a major boss, and he's the one that is. With the backing of Slarkarthel and that power and that connection, he's able to kind of form this whole Black Armada. So without him, it would really all fall apart. So very much take him down to really take down the whole Black Armada, and then learn where they need to go next. Is the only other part of thing that they need to do. It's always important to like look at these scenes and these big situations from like, what is the bare minimum the party needs to do here for a success, right? Similar to the styes, like you don't have to like, kill everything or wipe everything out. Like what is considered a win condition? In this case, it's defeating Tentrix. If they come out of here without defeating Tentrix, that is not considered a win condition. And then learning where Tentrix is from, which that should be triggered upon defeating Tentrix, basically. Everything else is technically just optional icing on however many people they can defeat and stuff. All right, I think that's going to do it for this Crafting the Deep. We did it. My first crafting in like 2 weeks or something. 1.5 weeks? I don't know, whatever it's been. If you enjoy the content, please check out patreon.com/ Rogue Watson, shout out to Planet Patrons, Joe, Will, Thomas, Dan, Brandon, Xenocider, Eclectic, Roll, Plural, Christopher, Corey, Big Nut, John F, John L, Nathan, Kev, Crystal, Counselor, Andrew, The Reldron, Stephanie, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, Amit, Lumpy Spud, Sharni, Warden, Harold, Unimona, LLC, Jamie, Reese, Tom, AJ, They're Eating the Dogs, Luis, Caleb, and Chad, and Gold Patrons, RPG, Paper Crimes, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Lizard Lounge, Drome, Nathan, Faslicatorta, Scott, Rufus, Jerry, Glenn, Marcus, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you in another crafting stream on Thursday. Yeah, that's what we do.